And look, we are thrilled to have you because you are the man on today's front page of every paper. This is your report from your committee. Now, a lot of it was censored. A lot of it was blacked out. I know how that feels. I used to work at ABC. But the parts of the report where somebody went through it with a black Sharpie and blacked it out. Now, come on. It's just you and me. What's in the black? What does the blacked out part say?
Well, first, Bill, I am running for President of the United States. I don't want to take a detour to the federal penitentiary. The parts that were blacked out have primarily a focus on a foreign government that was providing direct assistance to some of the hijackers. And I think the administration felt it would be too embarrassing to our relationship with this foreign government, even though they had been part of a conspiracy that ended up with 3,000 Americans killed. There also are some references to federal agencies and people in those agencies, which would have been embarrassing. And finally, by keeping these pages blanked out, the American people won't be able to ask the kind of probing questions that they should of how this administration and our intelligence community has handled its responsibilities to secure the people of America.
All right, so we cannot name this country, but it is, we can assume, a veritable mecca of terrorist activity. In your report, you say, let me quote it, you say that this government, this unnamed government, went well beyond facilitating charitable giving to terrorists. How do I interpret went well beyond facilitating charitable giving to terrorists? Do I interpret that to mean direct government involvement?
It means direct government involvement in a number of ways. Through agents of this government, two of the hijackers were provided with funds, significant monthly payments. They provided logistical assistance. They were rented an apartment for them, paid the first couple of months of rent on the apartment, introduced to a network which gave them both support and cover.
So why are we attacking Iraq?
Bill, you're very clever trying to get me to disclose classified secrets.
But seriously, look, I'm just going to quote another senator. Can I do that? I mean, he mentions a certain government. Senator Schumer yesterday said, why is there a constant coddling and covering up of the Saudis? Let me paraphrase what he's saying. Why is there a constant coddling and covering up of the Saudis?
Unrelated to our report on 9/11, the Saudis and the United States have had a relationship that goes back to World War II, and the essential agreement was the United States would provide security and defense for the Saudi regime. The Saudi regime would assure that we had an open spigot for all the petroleum that we wanted. That's been the deal for better than 50 years.
All right, let me ask you about some of the stuff that is in the report that we can read. Mostly it is about how the CIA and the FBI did not talk to each other. And I think that problem, you would say, is still ongoing. But here's my question. Back in January, we finally created this Department of Homeland Security, which was supposed to gather all the intelligence agencies under one umbrella. But that umbrella does not include the CIA and the FBI. Now, what does it say about President Kick-Ass and Take Names, excuse my language, Senator, if he couldn't even knock heads enough to bring the two most important agencies under the umbrella of Homeland Security?
Well, the administration, when they finally, after about 9 months, decided that we should have a Department of Homeland Security, reached the conclusion that the area of governmental activity or inactivity, which had been most responsible for 9/11, should not be included in this new agency. Let me tell you as an example of what the lack of communication meant. In December of 1999, there was a summit of terrorists held in Malaysia. The CIA was aware of that. They covered it. They took pictures of the participants. They knew that two of those people at this summit were going to come to the United States. What they didn't do was tell anybody. They didn't tell the Immigration Service, so they could have been picked up at the airport in Los Angeles. They didn't tell the FBI so that they could have put surveillance on these people. So these two individuals came to the United States in January of 2000, and living under the cover and with the support of the unnamed foreign government, were able to hide themselves while they planned, practiced, and finally executed one of the most horrific acts against the people of the United States in our history.
Gosh, if we could only find out who this government is. Wow. Lawrence of... Never mind. Well, I think the administration would say they went into Iraq to prevent the next 9/11. You were against... You were one of the few people, in fact, I think you're the only Democratic candidate who could have voted on this war who did not vote for the war in Iraq, and yet you voted for the war in Afghanistan. You voted for the first Gulf War. So you're not against using military means. Why did you not vote for this war? And what would you have done differently to fight the war on terror other than go into Iraq?
Saddam Hussein is or was an evil man. Everybody would agree with that. The fact is that he lives in a neighborhood with a lot of evil people. So the question of judgment and political responsibility in the United States was to decide which of the various evils should we go after first. I think the standard to answer that question is which of those evils has the greatest potential of killing Americans. And by that standard, there's no question that Al-Qaeda is the most serious threat. We had Al-Qaeda on the ropes in the spring of 2002. Osama bin Forgotten was surrounded. We had kicked out the Taliban. We were on the edge of victory until we stole victory when we said we're going to stop the intensive war in Afghanistan, shift military and intelligence resources to get started with the war in Iraq. What happened? Al-Qaeda gets up off the mat, regroups, regenerates, and has now committed a series of terrorist attacks, none of them, fortunately, inside the United States, but one in, can we say Saudi Arabia, resulted in 8 Americans being killed.
All right, listen, I think you got the right tack on this stuff. I hope you stick around in this campaign a little while more. I want to hear what you have to say.